Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's a great Wednesday in your nation's capital. A little chilly to start the day, though, but we're going to get up to close to 60 degrees. Just be patient. It's 6:07. Coming up in 30 minutes, we're going to talk to Cal Thomas, as we always do on a Wednesday. Then at 7:05, Hans von Spakovsky. Will the Supreme Court finally decide that Election Day means Election Day? We'll ask Hans. He'll know. At 7:35, Congressman Andy Harris on all of his cohorts getting back into town so they can vote on a spending package, or a funding package, I should say, that will reopen the government. Imagine that after 43 days. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock. Julie, the furlough's over. Get back here. Come here. Now, you've been essential this whole time, haven't you?
Oh, have I? Yes, well.
As essential as a Buc-ee's on a road trip. All right, I have a question for you.
Yes.
We're reaching the trading deadline in the National Football League, if it hasn't already passed. It may have already passed, but just imagine we're at the trading deadline here. And you need that one last key player to sort of bring things home. Or maybe you've got a chemistry problem in the locker room and you want to get rid of a bad actor and bring in a guy that might, make the team a little more cohesive. Here's the trade. You got to pick one Republican senator, and you get a straight-up trade, 1-for-1, with John Fetterman. Do you make the trade, first of all, and who do you trade?
First of all, no. Although
No.
I do love Fetterman.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate.
He's still a Democrat at heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing that
he's
for a
wrong
Democrat,
on a lot of stuff.
I know. I'm obviously pretending. I probably wouldn't take the trade either. Although it is interesting.
No, I could think of someone. I hate it when you do that to me.
All right, sorry. That's okay.
I need a lead in.
You don't need to. Well, let's listen to Fetterman for a minute, and maybe something will inspire you. The fact is, for Fetterman to sound reasonable and normal and just be plain spoken as a Democrat, and he is a Democrat, he has to have some level of brain damage. See, if a Democrat's brain is functioning as designed without any problems like the stroke that he had and other issues that he had with mental illness, if a Democrat's brain is functioning properly, they make no sense. And they're on the wrong side of every issue. Fetterman, of course, has some damage there, so he's not functioning as a Democrat is supposed to function, and he actually makes a lot of sense. And here's the best part of his appearance on The View yesterday, where he squared off with Sunny Hostin, an odious individual who uses her platform on The View basically to parrot talking points and to pick fights with people who dare to disagree with her, like John Fetterman. So here's the two of them going at it after the government shutdown, because, of course, Fetterman voted to reopen the government and has voted to reopen the government since day one. So
I
let's
know
listen.
who I'd trade. You've given me enough time.
All right, hold it. We'll get to it after Sunny Hostin. Don't forget it. Write it down. Write it down right now. All right, here we go.
Well, Senator Bernie Sanders said the vote was a horrific mistake. Governor Gavin Newsom called it pathetic and a surrender. Poll after poll found more Americans on both sides of the aisle blaming Republicans. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene blamed the GOP. As you mentioned, Democrats had big wins last week, so you had momentum. Why give in now? Why bring a butter knife to a gunfight? Are you willing to gamble that the GOP will negotiate on health care in good faith once the government reopens? Because
can we pause it there for a second? Again, the audience applauding is always the most disturbing part. This is where my brain is broken, Julie. The Republicans were responsible. The American people were blaming the Republicans. So why did you open the government? Wait a minute. If the Republicans were at fault, how could the Democrats reopen the government?
Yeah.
This is the part that is constantly.
Well, it's Sunny. Come on.
It is. But do they understand the illogic of their own argument? The Republicans were to blame, so why did you as a Democrat open the government? Well, if the Democrats could open the government, clearly the Democrats were to blame for closing the government.
It doesn't matter. It's just words. It's just
words.
It's
just words and political.
It's optics. She says it. People don't think really deeply about these things, and she's lying to make a point to make the Republicans, I guess, look bad.
And they all applaud.
It works.
They all applaud. All right. Let's pick it up from there.
government reopens, because if that gamble is wrong, 500,000 Pennsylvanians that you represent, their health care costs will skyrocket if you are wrong. And I believe you are wrong.
Well, first of all, MTG is quite literally the last person in America that I'm going to take advice or to get their kinds of my leadership and values from. And now if Democrats are celebrating crazy pants like that, then that's on them. And now I don't need a lecture. I don't need a lecture from whether it's Bernie or the governor in California, because they are representing very deep blue kinds of populations, and a lot of those things were part of the extreme. And now remember, what really needs to win, the big win, is involving my state and other states and those things. And why have we arrived here after the election a year ago? We got to forget some of the things that cost us that election. Or now, for me, it's like, that's why I'm trying to remind people that kinds of the extremism, we can't return to those kind of things, and realize we need to find a way forward. And I would like to, rather than cite MTG, I'm going to cite one of the new governor-elects saying that my election is not a green light to continue the shutdown, because I promise you, this isn't a political game. It is viewed by many of us, but the reality is 42 million Americans now not sure where their next meal is going to come from, and because we vote like that, or people that haven't been paid for 5 weeks now, and that kinds of chaos. Those workers have to borrow more than $500 million, from their credit union just to pay their bills.
All right, so that's Fetterman fighting back against Sunny Hostin, and you heard how Sunny approaches her job there at The View as a combative political operative, not necessarily as a host of a show interviewing a politician.
They're part of the news department there, Larry.
Yes, that's the news show.
That partisan crap is considered news. How lovely.
And Fetterman is the enemy, because Fetterman said you had people who were borrowing from their credit unions and by paying against their credit card to just make ends meet. And by the way, he makes a pretty salient point. Bernie Sanders ain't going to win you the presidency. Gavin Newsom, California ain't going to win you the presidency. My state wins you the presidency.
Yeah. Meanwhile, yesterday we find out Sunny Hostin's family is on, SNAP, and she's a multimillionaire and can't give a handout to her own family. Nice lady.
Yeah. By the way, have you picked a senator that you're ready to trade for Fetterman?
Yes, Lisa Murkowski, and the fact that I couldn't think of that name I'm so ashamed. Tom Tillis comes in second. There you go.
Well, he's on his way out, but yes, absolutely.
I know,
those are all good choices. Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
No, and again, Fetterman. I'm teasing. Fetterman is still a liberal Democrat, but everybody in this town says, "Oh, why can't we get along? Why can't we find something good on there?" Okay, I found something good. I think Fetterman's actually a pretty good guy. I think his wife's a little Looney Tunes, but I think that he's wrong on a whole lot of issues. But he did the rounds yesterday, and by the way, unlike some of his counterparts like Dick Durbin, who was hiding under the covers because he didn't want to own up to his vote, or Tim Kaine for that matter,
who didn't even know what was going on.
John Fetterman is actually owning his vote and going out and speaking. He put on his nice hoodie for The View, too, by the way, for his Skype. I love the fact that he was like, I'm not going to New York. If you want me, I'll just connect on Skype in my hotel room. Right. Screw you. All right, a little bit more here. As your favorite conservative commentator, Alyssa Farah Griffin, then interviewed John Fetterman from The View. You'll hear that and a little bit more about the disposition of Chuck Schumer as the leader of the Democrats right now from Fetterman's perspective. And also Fetterman was on Fox as well. He did a lot. Yes, he changed hoodies for Fox, by the way. I don't know what that means, but we'll get into it.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Alyssa Farah Griffin is a Republican who worked on Capitol Hill, worked for Vice President Mike Pence, and then for the Trump's comms team in the end of the first administration, then saw a career path if she became Never Trump, and so that's what she did. Now she's making millions of dollars sitting on the panel of The View. Have I assessed her career properly?
Yes, much nicer than I would have.
Oh, and her father founded WorldNet Daily, which used to be sort of the
trashier version of Inquirer.
Yes, the fever swamp of conservative commentary on the internet. She then had some questions for John Fetterman. Let's listen.
Is Leader Schumer, in your mind, the right leader for this moment for Democrats?
I'm saying that it's like that's not really my concern right now. It's not like a leadership situation. It is, we are living in the backlash of the election. It's been effectively a year now. America decided to put us in the minority. And now in terms of leadership right now, what defines leadership for me? I think that's order and logic and describing people exactly where we're at. And now we were all energized by the election just last week. And now for me, I think it's like, hey, let's take the win on that. And now we know there's a lot of backlash to this kinds of chaos. And now voters are going to respond to more order and the more kinds of not violating our core values to plunge our country into chaos for 42 million Americans. Food security, that's really parts of the essence of the kind of people that I fight for. Now we have to be able to disagree on these things. And if you can't, and now as a committed Democrat that vote 90% of the Democratic line, now like that might be a bigger problem with our party in some way, that a committed Democrat from the most difficult and purple state in the country says, hey, I'm trying to call balls and strikes in the middle of this chaos.
So the interesting thing that's sort of the underlying subtext here is that he knows that this Band-Aid they were trying to put on the Obamacare and the health premiums, this subsidy that goes straight to the insurance companies just to artificially make it appear as though health insurance prices haven't skyrocketed because Obamacare was such a godsend. He knows that it's all bull. He knows that it's a fraud. And it seems clear to me that he saw the real existential problem of something the government should be doing, is helping the less fortunate with their food bills, and that was, falling through the cracks while they were playing games with this ridiculous payout for health insurance companies. And
that's right.
He had had enough of it.
Yeah, and look, Fetterman is always, I will say, like, he's willing to listen, and he's not willing to sort of carry these lies in order to further another political goal. He just sees things the way they are. I have a lot of disagreements with Fetterman, but boy, yes, he really is honest and he calls it like he sees it. And he, again, is not willing to carry the water of his party, and sort of say these lies in order to reach some ultimate goal. I respect him for that.
By the way, because of that, they're going to primary him when he's up again. And the Democrats have turned on. They hate him. They hate him, and they've gotten members of his staff to leak about him and try to destroy him in the pages of the New York Times. You mentioned his wife earlier, and I agree, she's a bit kooky. But it was so funny when he first was elected and Republicans were really objecting to him. And she was the darling. I mean, I believe she had a spread in several fashion magazines. Oh, yes. She was seen at all the hoity-toity parties. She was on the arm of a lot of Hollywood stars. They loved her because the story about her is that she came in as I think she has her citizenship now, but she came in as an illegal alien, and so there was this sort of story there. And now you never see her. She is not the darling she once was. Meanwhile, you heard Alyssa Farah-Griffin trying to get a soundbite from Fetterman there about Schumer, and he, of course, waved it off because the question was not asked properly. Do you still have confidence in Schumer as a leader? Obviously, he's not. He's going to dodge something like that. Yeah. Over on Fox and Friends, they asked the question, I think, in a more pointed way, and they got a good soundbite. Here's cut 4.
Who is running the show now in the Democratic Party, in the Senate, in the House?
No one really knows. And I think my values are reflected in my vote and the things that I support here. And if that might put me at odds with parts of my party, I'm okay with that. I mean, we need to be a big party, a big tent party.
Nope. You can't be a big tent. I love that. So who's running the Democrat Party? Yeah, no one really knows. No one knows who's in charge.
And then he says, but I'm voting according to my principles. So he says, look, it's chaos up here. I'm just going to follow my own values.
Well, if Gavin Newsom, who appears to be on the fast track to the nomination right now, has his way, the Fettermans of the world will not be able to just vote their principles. Yep. He has some pretty strong opinions about this. He gave an interview, cut 5.
I'm not coming in to punch anybody in the face, but I'm not pleased that in the face of this invasive species that is Donald Trump, who's completely changed the rules of the game, that we're still playing by the old rules of the game. And in my core, I'm just I'm stunned.
Yeah, invasive species that is Donald Trump. Again, as our friend Molly Hemingway would put it, assassination prep. You know, when you dehumanize a person and you call them things like an invasive species, it just motivates more deranged individuals who align themselves with your politics to take matters into their own hands. Gavin Newsom is an odious pig. Oh, wait, I just used dehumanizing language. See, how do you like it there, Governor Hair Gel? It's 6:23.
Coming up, it's cow time. Keep it here, 6:30.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:36 as we plow through this morning news cycle here on O'Connor and Company. Coming up at 7:05, Hans von Spakovsky on the Supreme Court, possibly, finally, going to determine once and for all what Election Day really means. Spoiler alert, I'm pretty sure it doesn't mean counting ballots that were not postmarked that arrived 5 days after Election Day. But that's what happened in 2020. Coming up at 7:35, we'll speak with Andy Harris, congressman from Maryland and chairman of the Freedom Caucus. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Julie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Joining us right now, syndicated columnist extraordinaire, bon vivant and man about town. He is Cal Thomas. When I introduce you like that, I feel like Gene Wilder introducing the monster in Young Frankenstein. Right before they sing Puttin' on the Ritz.
Right, and he had great hair, too, like you mentioned in a commercial a few minutes ago.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Cal, it looks like the government shutdown's over. I've been wrestling with this logic puzzle all morning long. The Democrats are angry, the activist Democrats like Bernie Sanders, et cetera, are angry that the government shutdown is ending, and yet for the last 43 days they have blamed the Republicans for causing the government shutdown. And by the way, it's Democrats who are agreeing to vote to fund the government, which tells me that it was the Democrats who were responsible for the government shutdown. Make it make sense, Cal.
Well, I compare it to the John Kerry line, the former senator and climate czar, who was for the war in Iraq before he was against it. This is the new Democrat principle. They were against the government shutdown. Chuck Schumer said so. A lot of the others harm people, not good for working people. It would harm the poor. People would starve in the streets until it became politically advantageous to them, and now they're for it. I mean, this is why the word hypocrisy was invented, but in Washington, it doesn't seem to matter anymore. They're even talking, according to the Washington Post piece yesterday, of using the same tactics next year, shutting down the government on purpose again in order to get political benefits in the midterm elections. It's really disgusting, and it's why more and more people hate Washington, no matter who's running it.
You know, Cal, it's interesting, though. I mean, go ahead and do that, because this did not work out for them. It really showed, I think, a lot more people understand what a joke Obamacare is and how it has actually been responsible for increasing prices. I mean, Republicans have known that ever since this idea was first proposed, but it's been very hard to explain that to the American public. And now they can see it. They can see that it's only because of these payments direct to the insurance companies that their premiums are being kept down, still high, but being kept down somewhat. And also, it really revealed the waste and fraud and just abuse of the SNAP program. So I think this has been kind of, I mean, obviously it was horrible, and to not pay our military, to not pay our traffic controllers and other essential workers. But to some degree, this did help the Republicans explain how these programs need reform. Isn't that correct?
Here's the problem, Julie. You have the narrative and you have facts. And people in our superficial age are more concerned about the narrative than the facts. You're right in everything you said. Now, these COVID subsidies were supposed to expire, as you know, at the end of the year. They were there to help people during the pandemic. But like every other government program, it has a life of its own. As Ronald Reagan used to say, the only proof of eternal life in Washington is a government program. And it's impossible to cut even the rate of increase for some people. Right. So then you have that on one side, and then you have the entitlement mentality on the other side. Even though things aren't working, in Florida, for example, where I am, they have this open season on Medicare supplements and everything, and there are 4 words that are common to all of them: free, deserve, entitled, and I forget the 4th one. Anyway, the whole purpose is to make people feel that government owes them something. And when you have that mentality, instead of you should take care of yourself first, government should be a last resort, not a first resource, it's very difficult to break through that.
Yeah.
Cal, and you wrote about this in your column last week titled aptly The Hunger Games, where there was a time when the whole idea of these programs was to be, a last-minute, no other option kind of desperation, sort of Hail Mary here. I'm going to go on this program just to get my feet back on. The Obama administration, when they came in, they took it as a badge of honor. They would brag about how many people were on SNAP and on food stamps. Instead of, I think when a conservative approaches these programs, they would brag about how many people we can get off of those programs.
Well, that's right, Larry. I mean, look, 42 million people getting food assistance in America. That's a disgrace. We are the richest nation on earth. How does that happen? Again, it's people becoming addicted to government and not looking out for themselves. Yes, the single mothers, the people who are out of work, the handicapped, the disabled, all of those people deserve help, of course. But as Jack Kemp, the former congressman and HUD secretary, used to say, we who are Republicans and conservatives count success not by the number of people on assistance, but by the number of people we get off of assistance. None of these programs and none of the people talking about them ever say that our goal is to get the people off public assistance. They want more and more because that's more votes for the Democrats.
But isn't the problem with the federal bureaucracy, basically you're hiring people to administer these programs, and the first instructions to them is, all right, if we do our job right, you'll all be out of work soon. Who, right? I mean, who's going to sign up for that? And that's how we get this perpetual federal government status.
Well, as I also wrote, I think the only answer now is to appropriate that clause in the Constitution calling for a convention of states. State legislatures, 19 of them out of 34 that are necessary, have approved this. We need term limits. We need a balanced budget. We can't go on with a $38 trillion debt. Power to the people. That was the slogan of the 60s. Let's use that for conservatism.
Cal Thomas throwing down with the Article 5 folks, and I don't disagree with you. That would be fabulous. All right, Cal, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
6:43.
Mark Levin, weekdays 6 till 9 on 105.9 WMAL, making sense of the news.
We shift our gaze down to the Caribbean, where in a move that is seen by many observers as an escalation of the pressure campaign against Venezuela, and most specifically the dictator Nicolas Maduro, the USS Gravely, a guided missile destroyer, has now been docked at Port of Spain in Trinidad and Tobago. They're going to conduct joint exercises, as they put it, to address serious threats in the Caribbean region. And Venezuela is calling this a hostile provocation toward their country. This is, of course, after many of these narco-terrorist drug boats have been blasted out of the sky. There's no evidence that they're narco-terrorists. They could just be poor fishermen. Yeah, it's 2 in the morning. It's Maryland men. Yeah, it's 2 in the morning, and they're all cruising, not out to get fish. They're all in power boats, speed boats, and they're heading up toward our coast.
They're just some guys out for a weekend of fishing, Larry.
Yeah. Now, there's no suggestion that the U.S. is planning on invading Venezuela or anything like that. But Venezuela is matching the U.S. Naval presence there by mobilizing their troops and weapons in a response to the buildup in the Caribbean. And according to Fox News right up here, they are planning to deploy a guerrilla-style resistance if the U.S. attacks. I don't think that's the case, but there's definitely a pressure campaign here. And I understand that in the background of all of this, there have been some negotiations with Maduro to help him sort of exit stage extreme left and get some potentially some sanctuary in another nation, a neighboring nation.
A cushy landing spot if he wants to,
Yeah, go into exile.
I don't know his life, safely guaranteed.
The enhanced U.S. force presence in the U.S. Southcom AOR will bolster U.S. capacity to detect, monitor, and disrupt illicit actors and activities that compromise the safety and prosperity of the United States homeland, so said Sean Parnell, the chief Pentagon spokesperson. These forces will enhance and augment existing capabilities to disrupt narcotics trafficking and degrade and dismantle transnational criminal organizations. It's amazing if you dip over to MSNBC or other liberal left-wing media outlets, they're outraged that the military have been conducting these exercises against Venezuela and against these narco-terrorists.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what the U.S. does. It's Trump. And any, policy that he pursues is bad. They cannot look at this rationally, reasonably. Right. It's just Trump.
By the way, I love it when there's cognitive dissonance on the left. Who do they hate, other than Trump, who do they hate the most on the world stage right now? What foreign leader would you say? I'm putting you on the spot again.
Yeah, I can't stand when you do this.
I know. Putin, right?
Putin. Yeah,
Putin's the monster. Putin's evil. Putin's a bad guy, right? So Venezuela is now going to team up with Putin in response. So it's like if you're on the political left in America, whose side do you take here? Right now, they're claiming Venezuela are the victims of U.S. aggression. And Russia's foreign ministry has now announced that they are prepared to respond to Venezuela's request for assistance. And yet at the same time, they're urging that this escalation not take place. It's not an escalation. Listen, the Caribbean's in our backyard. We're allowed and have always conducted naval exercises with our allies down there. If Venezuela sees that as a threat, then maybe Venezuela's doing something wrong. We've got a lot. There are a lot of island nations and other countries on the northern coast of South America who are our allies, who are even closer to Trinidad and Tobago, and they aren't saying that this is a threat to them. Why would our moving the beautiful guided missile destroyer USS Gravely, it's a gorgeous ship, moving that to Trinidad and Tobago to conduct exercises with our allies, why would Venezuela see that as a threat unless Venezuela's up to no good?
That's right.
Thank you. You're not hearing Costa Rica say, get that ship out of here. That's a threat. By the way, real fast, the USS Gravely, do you know what their motto is?
No.
It's a good motto. First to conquer. We got the best Navy. 6:52.